Hey guys, this is Equilibrium and welcome to my very first digital painting tutorial. I'm super excited about this because I've been wanting to do this ever since I was 10, which was when I started drawing, and I finally get the chance to do it. Since this is my first time doing this, I figured I would do something simple by showing you how I usually finish up my drawings. These are just one of those things where I wish that someone had told me when I just started out, because these techniques really make a difference to your finished work. Before I start, I want to let you know that these are the two pictures that I'm going to do the demo on, and the links to these two images are down in the description box below. And you can do the tutorial along with me because I tried recording something like this once before and it's really hard seeing a difference just by looking at the recording. So yeah, if you want to see how these techniques work, just do it along with me in Photoshop or maybe Sai. I don't use Sai, but I think some of these features are on Sai as well. Alright, so the reason why I'm choosing these two pictures is because I really want to emphasize the differences between a romantic kind of image with a dramatic kind of image, which is this one. So if you look at these two set of drawings right here, on the dramatic one you see that the colors are very contrasting. Like for this one it goes like from black and then immediately go to the skin color without any like good transition. And the same goes for this one. It goes like from black over here, which is the shadow on the neck, and it goes straight to the skin color without any transition. And if you see on the romantic kind of picture, which was what I tried to do on my Rapunzel picture, there's barely any blacks in here, well maybe except for the hair color and all that stuff, but if you look at the shadows it's just kind of like a dark brown instead of just, instead of just black. It goes from dark brown to the peach color, and there's a really good transition here. And romantic images, they tend to have lower contrast, as for dramatic pictures they have higher contrast, and this is really important when you want to finish up your drawing. So you want to make sure that if you want to make something look romantic, you don't want to put too much contrast on it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the Rapunzel one, which is more romantic, so I'm going to avoid contrasting colors. So like as you can see here, you don't really see any black color that I put on the image, except for maybe the eyes, but that's the eyes. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on any layer and just merge visible, and that will make everything I have here on just one layer. Alright, so first thing I want to do is that I want to copy this layer just by right clicking it and do duplicate layer. Alright, and someone on my last video asked me how to make kind of like the 3D effect. So to make the 3D effect, I just go to channels, which is right here, and I click on the red one, and if you click on the red one it shows how many red you have in the image. So I want to click the red one and click view on the RGB one, and I'm going to press the move tool in Control A to select all, and then I'm just going to move it kind of like to the right a little bit. So as you can see, some of the colors are going out a little bit, and that's awesome because it makes your image look more three-dimensional. So here, since I'm doing kind of like a romantic painting instead of a dramatic one, I'm not going to do it too much. So probably I'm just gonna be, just here, and you probably won't see a difference, but if it's on your own painting you will see a huge difference. So I'm just gonna keep it at that. Okay, maybe, yeah, just like that. And I'm going to deselect, and that's what I have. Now I want to go back to the layers tab, and I'm going to choose an eraser. I'm going to choose a huge round brush, and I want to delete some of the offsets. So I really hate it when the eyes become more blurry because of that, so I'm going to delete some of the parts on the eyes. And also you want to make sure that the borders don't do this, so you want to delete those as well. And this is why it's really good to have duplicated your layer before you do this, because if you mess something up you won't mess up the whole painting. So just keep erasing where you really don't want those 3D effects to be happening, because sometimes it makes it looks really bad. Okay, so and then I'm happy with that, so that's it. And then now I'm going to copy these two layers, just duplicate it, and then just merge them together. And the reason why I don't just merge these two together is because, again, I don't want to mess up and be like, can't go back to what was not messed up before. So I'm just gonna unview that. And then now what I'm gonna do is that I am going to copy it again and do a Gaussian blur. So you just go to filter and then go to, where is that thing? Blur, and choose Gaussian blur. And Gaussian blur just basically makes everything blurry, just like that. And this is for a purpose, so just bear with me. Alright, so now I want to choose a huge round brush again and delete kind of like the ones in the middle. And the goal here is to kind of blur out the edges, because if you blur out the edges, the focal point will be much clearer, which is the face. And you can just look at what you have blurred so far and see you have blurred kind of like just the edges, and that's what you want, because you want the focal point to be the head. And a lot of artists use this, including Ilya Kuvshinov. I'm not sure if I pronounced his name right. I got this technique from him. I'm not sure if he does this technique doing this way, but in a lot of his paintings he makes everything around the face blurry and just leaves the face more sharp, and it makes his painting looks awesome that way. And that's how you do it. So that's blurring, and then now I'm going to duplicate it again and merge those just so I can go back to it if I mess something up. So now next thing I want to do is I want to sharpen things, right? So after you blur it, you sharpen it, and trust me, it's gonna make things look better. Alright, so if you go to filter, sharpen, unsharp mask, you're going to see this options that's gonna make your image sharper. Okay, so what you want to do is just play with these kind of like settings, and as you can see, the freckles become more visible, and this is really awesome. And I really like this feature of Photoshop because it makes your drawing look much more detailed than it is. So the more you sharpen it, the more detailed it's gonna look like. And I use it for all of my paintings, so if you see that my paintings are like detailed and stuff, it's like, no, not really, I just use this sharpen. So that's what happens. And I'm just gonna press OK, and yeah, if you look at the freckles, it's kind of more finished, you know, like it became one with the face as opposed to before it kind of not really is. Alrighty, so that's how you sharpen the image. So now, one thing that I really love to do at the end of each painting that I do is that I do adjustment layers. So if you go to your tab thingy right here and go to this yin yang thing, and all these things you can use as your adjustment layer, and I'll explain to you what that means in just a second. So the adjustment layers really just make your painting have a different feel to it. So I'm just gonna make a folder named adjustments, just like that, and it's really good to do that so you'll know where your adjustment layers are. It just makes things more organized. So now I want to go to this yin yang thing and go to brightness and contrast. So here, this is really useful because if you crank up the contrast a little bit, it makes it look more dramatic, right? So that's awesome if you have a dramatic painting. But since this is not a dramatic painting at all, I'm going to just maybe do it a little bit, not too much, maybe at that. And brightness as well. See, it makes it look awesome. Probably you can't really see it from the recording, but if you do it on your own, you'll see. Alrighty, and that's brightness and contrast. There's a trick to brightness and contrast as well. So I want to show you that you can like crank, oh, maybe I'm gonna make it darker a little bit. See, it makes it dark. And then you can go to your brush and choose a huge airbrush and just brush it off. So the color that you have is black, so if you brush it off with a black, it's going to show the layer underneath it, which is the original painting, right? So if you do that, it's going to strengthen your focal point even more, because now the face is like really light, but then the other part is just, you know, darker. So when people look at your drawings, they immediately look at the face, which is the focal point, and that's what you want, right? And you can also do that if you want to make things brighter. So I'm gonna crank up the brightness a little bit and just, you know, just erase the outer parts. It makes it even more brighter, so the face is much brighter than the rest of the stuff. But I don't think I really like it looking that way, so I'm just gonna hide it for now. Alright, so next thing I like to do is that I like to go to color balance. And color balance is really awesome because it really gives your painting more harmony. So here, I really want to make the picture look, you know, very romantic and kind of stuff. So I want to crank up like the red kind of, so that it looks more pinkish. And that's what I want to do because the background is pink, so it would be awesome if it looks, you know, pink as well on the face, because that's color harmony. And color harmony is basically saying that the colors in your painting really work well together to make one huge painting. So I'm gonna crank up the red, and you know, if you crank up other colors, you know, it still really looks nice, you know. So maybe I'll crank up the blue a little bit. And you know, don't want to crank up the green because, you know, this is not a green picture, but you know, purple, pink, this is really good for this one. So yeah, and you can also mess with the highlights and shadows. So if you know, just play with it, play around with it and see what works for you. You know, just go with it. There's infinite possibilities for this one, but keep in mind on what kind of image you want your image to be. Is it dramatic or is it just, you know, romantic? Alrighty, so you know, that's it for adjustment layers. So usually I just stop at color balance, but if you want to do something more, you can just explore all of these. Another one that I like to do is vibrance. So vibrance, I don't really know how to describe it, but I guess you can just try it at home, and it gives more contrast to your painting. And sometimes it looks good, sometimes it looks bad, but I don't really want to give it for this one. And also, so let's say you know, so let's say this was my brightness layer, and I don't really want to make it too bright, but I kind of want it bright, so I can just, you know, just lower the opacity so that it's still bright but not that bright, you know. And yeah, that's another technique that you can use. So yeah, so we did the channels, we did the Gaussian blur, which makes the edges more blurred and the focal point more sharp, and we also did the sharpen layer just to make, you know, images look more detailed than you made it. And that's awesome. And that's Rapunzel, yay! Alright, now let's move on to the dramatic painting. So as you can see, I drew this by keeping in mind that I have to make a lot of contrast. So as you can see, I did a lot of like dark colors, just contrasting colors, and black right there, and just a very dark brown right here. And you know, it makes the whole thing more contrasted. Alright, so first thing I do if I want to make a dramatic painting is that I duplicate the layer and I do color dodge on it. So I choose a huge round airbrush like that and just set the brush mode into color dodge. And color dodge basically makes things more contrasted and makes it shinier. So for example, I want to make the eye shinier, so I'm going to choose the eye color and just, you know, color dodge on the eye, and it looks much better. It makes it contrasted and it's awesome. And then now do the same thing on Stitch's eye, and yeah, you basically just find things to make things shinier, and most of the time it makes the colors really pop, but you don't really want to do too much. You don't really want to overdo it. It's just a great tool that you can use. And I also like to do it on the hair, so color dodge that, and yeah, just finding the right strokes. and just, you know, just keep doing it. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I think you guys can just try it on your own, because it really makes your drawing pop this way. You don't really want to do it on non-dramatic paintings because, you know, you don't want to make things really shine in, you know, non-dramatic paintings. Okay, so that's color dodging, and then now I want to do the same thing as I did before with the Rapunzel picture. So I'm just gonna go through this really fast, and keep in mind that there's no, you know, actual order in which you want to do things. You know, I did the Rapunzel one with channels first and then with blurring, but I don't, you know, you don't really have to necessarily follow that order. So I just want to start with, you know, maybe doing blurring first. So I'm just going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and just want to make the edges blurry a little bit. So erase the middle parts just like that, and, you know, just keep doing it. And yep, those are the ones that I want to blur out. So maybe I don't really want to blur out the laser lights, so I'm just gonna erase that. And there you have it. And then now I want to just duplicate those layers, merge it, and go to channels, offset the red a little bit by clicking on red, and then view on RGB. So, and then just move using the move tool, and it looks much cooler. And then I want to press on RGB again, go to layers, and just, oops, damn it, I forgot to duplicate it. So, yep, that's a mistake you should not make. Okay, just do it again. So red, view RGB, and just move it. And there you have it. Go to and click on RGB before you go to layers. So just erase the parts where you don't want an offset. And as you can see here, this is like really cool to me, so I want to keep that, but I don't want to keep it on the faces. So I'm just gonna delete these, and there you go. And then, so when I look at this painting, I feel like I should do it on Angel's side as well, because there's an offset on Stitch's side, but there's no offset on Angel's side. So I'm just gonna duplicate it again, go to channels, click on red, view RGB, and then just move it on the right side now. So Angel also has an offset. So click on RGB, go to layers, and then just delete the ugly parts. I'm just saving right there. Yep, and then just keep deleting the ugly parts. And then now you have the colors offsetting on Stitch's side and also on Angel's side. And I want this because, as you can see on the background, it's like a radial kind of background, so I think it would be good if you do a radial kind of thing on both Stitch and Angel. Alrighty, and then now just duplicate them, merge them together, and then now I want to do the most exciting part that I think is sharpen and unsharp mask, which is on filter, sharpen, and unsharp mask. So I just want to sharpen it in a good amount, and as you can see, it looks much more detailed. So if you click OK and you go back, and if you look at the differences between the sharp and the unsharp one, is that, see, the unsharp one is very blurry and you can barely see the pores on Stitch's face that I made, but if you do sharpen, it's like really visible and it makes your painting much more detailed looking, even though it kind of is not. Alrighty, and then that's sharpen. And then of course you want to do the adjustment layers, so go to adjustments and brightness and contrast, and this is where the magic happens. If you crank up the contrast a little bit, makes your drawing much more dramatic. But unfortunately on this one, if you crank up the contrast, it's not gonna look really nice because it's already contrasted even before the adjustment layers. And the reason is because I was doing the adjustments on the layers before. So if I just show you, if I go to Angel and then just select her face, the layer where I put her face, just like that. And if you go to image adjustments and brightness and contrast, you can just, just do contrast and brightness on just that layer, and that's what I did. So that's why when we were doing the adjustment layers, it doesn't really work, but that's how I did it. So maybe in your own painting you can crank up the contrast and brightness and make sure you're drawing more contrasted and more dramatic that way. But in my case, can't really do anything except maybe crank up the brightness a little bit, and yeah, and that's good. Just gonna delete that. Alrighty, and then now of course I want to do the color balance, and since the background is bluish, I want to crank up the blue, and yep, that makes it look great. Maybe a little bit of red as well. And yeah, also, if you don't want the color balance on some of the parts, you can just go to brush. If you choose black and just brush on the thing, it will erase the color balance part, see? But if you choose white, it's going to bring back the color balance. So you can play with that if you want to. Doing the black and white thing also applies to any adjustment layers, and as you can see on brightness and contrast or Rapunzel before, it also works on color balance, it also works on vibrance, but I don't really think I need to show you guys that because it's very obvious and you can just try it out at your own time. But in the meanwhile, I think I'm just gonna leave it at these two because I basically already did much of the work while I was doing the actual painting, which was like all of these many layers right here. I don't know how many layers I have, but that's what I was working on. I was working on contrast and color balance on each of those. That's why the finishing for adjustments doesn't really work on this painting, but it does work for, Gaussian and sharpen and also the channels, and those are really good. So I really do hope that this tutorial helps you guys, because these are the things that I really use for each and every one of my drawings. So, I hope this makes a difference in your drawing as well. Hey, since you're still here, why don't you check out my last video, which is a speed paint of Princess Mononoke. If you like my work, make sure to check out my social media, the links are down below. And of course, if you found this video helpful, click that subscribe button because I will be making more of these. Thanks for watching and see you guys later.